There is an entire Gramam in Karnataka, this entire region of Melkote, which still does not celebrate Deepavali nearly 400-500 years later. How is this lost on every other citizen of Karnataka and every other politician of Karnataka who want to celebrate Tipu Sultan?
It's not lost on the people, Anand. So when I think the very perverse attempt to do this Tipu Jayanti, which was started by the previous Congress government, the protests that were there in different parts of the state, of course, some were politically motivated. They came from the Sangh Parivar and the BJP. But then a lot of, Catholics, Christians, and other communities, the Kodavas, they went up in arms against this, saying we do not want to commemorate someone who was a butcher of our ancestors. The Mandya Mayangars of Melkote, whom you mentioned, about 400 of them, men, women and children, were hung from treetops by Tipu on the festival day of Deepavali, which is why to this day, after so many 2 centuries, the people there do not celebrate, the Mandya Mayangars do not celebrate Diwali, and it's observed as a day of mourning while the rest of the country is celebrating. And so that's a very living history. So also the Kodavas, I mean, even now the kind of hatred that is evoked for him, 60,000 and over that, Syrian Christians and Catholics who from Mangalore were ruthlessly chained and dragged, on the streets all the way up to Srirangapatna. Many of them died on the way and they were forced to convert to Islam. So whether all these communities, so the social report card of a ruler, I think is very important when you're assessing the legacy of the person. And I have no problem, Anand, if a group of people, citizens, they form a Tipu fan club or something else and they celebrate commemorate his birthday or death day or whatever. It's everybody's democratic right. Even a party like the Congress party can celebrate Tipu Jayanti if they want in their political capacity. But when you give it the authority of the state of Karnataka and on taxpayers' money, you're actually doing it when large sections of your own state communities have living memories, living histories of the atrocities committed. I think that is, stretching the whole appeasement business to the limits.
But it is still being done. Why is it that it's lost on the political disposition, irrespective of which political party? A lot of these netas represent these regions, represent the regions where Tipu plundered, where ancestrally or even so many centuries down the line, people still remember, they've not forgotten. So is it lost on them or do they not care? That's one. The other part is this threading or shredding is happening within the Hindu history. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have HDK now talking about Peshwa Brahmins, Peshwas and also Marathi Brahmins. So these kind of comments, why? So just to try and say, all right, with Belagavi there is a historical issue between Maharashtra and Karnataka. So let's try and fuel it a little further that you cannot, trust somebody who has roots are. And he said it with Mr. Prahlad Joshi. How does that make it relevant today? Why do this?
I think history becomes the tool.
So because Peshwas fought Tipu, so that's why.
Sorry?
The Peshwas, or
Peshwas
the Marathas,
or Tipu or Savarkar or anything, when a politician of any hue wants to divert the attention of the people, they bring up all these unnecessary emotive issues, which ideally should be left to historians, to academics and scholars to sit and debate amongst ourselves. It need not become a matter of political discourse in an election rally. I think that just shows the complete intellectual bankruptcy of all the political parties. So much of valuable time in Karnataka, in Bengaluru, was spent on what do you have to name the new airport, after whom it needs to be named, whether it was Kempegowda or Tipu Sultan, because Tipu was born in Devanhalli. But I think for the common Bengalurians, that is of the last of their concerns. We would want a high-speed metro network to go into the airport terminal. And, after 2008, the new airport came, and still for large, sections of Bengaloreans, it takes us about 2.5 hours to reach that beautiful airport.
Get me there in 25 minutes.
More, get us there. So you can name it after Timbuktu for all we care, but then, give us what we want, which is, but then when those things fail, to completely divert the attention of the people and engage them in all these emotive issues, political parties of all hues, I think, engage. And when they do that, be rest assured that they don't have a positive agenda to play
but
on.
you have to also say it's also a reflection, isn't it also a reflection of us as a people? Politicians are very astute about what will work on ground. You can say whatever it is, they will pick what will work. So if weaponizing history is what is going to work with the people, then is that also not a reflection of us as a society in Karnataka? How many parents are actually turning around and telling their children why it is Kempagowda? Who is Kempagowda? How many people have actually told their children who is Basavaraj? Where is this Milkote? Who are Mandya Brahmins? What's the history of who's Rani Abbaka? So they've all loved the 15 minutes of Kantara. But how many of them know there is a reference to Rani Abbaka there? No, I'm seriously asking. So is that not a reflection of us?
No, very true. And, even there, the only, thing that we do, even when these textbooks get changed, I think recently there was this whole controversy that, textbooks got changed in Karnataka. And you had that very, very hilarious thing. It was said that it was done as a poetic metaphor, but then, Savarkar sat on bulbul birds' feathers and kept flying out of the jail and things like this. So I don't know, I mean, who changes these textbooks? Who are the people who are put in charge of this? Are you, replacing one set of loony narratives with another set of loony narratives? I think that is something that you're right, that as long as these matters of our history, of our past, and the history as a very important mirror as to who we are, our identity as a nation, as a civilization, and as a people, if that doesn't become important to us, the common people of India or of Karnataka, and we can't lobby enough to all the governments of whatever party and hues, that this is a very important subject and you need to make sensible scientific changes to this and retell it in a more sensible manner and not this hilarious way, governments will keep doing all this. So it is finally the people's, I think, onus is on them. I'd just like to, you asked about this whole Marathi Brahmin thing. I think that was completely ahistorical, whatever was said, that the Marathas actually plundered the Sringeri Mutt in 1791, which is ahistorical because it was not the Maratha army which did it, it was the Pindaris, the irregulars in the army. That way Tipu also had a lot of irregulars in his army, which after the main army would leave, you would have a lot of these irregulars who would go and loot, and that was their only source of income. But the difference is, while Tipu made it his matter of policy, in his letters, on his very sword, what was written, that the duty is to subjugate the kafir and the religion of the infidels. The Marathas did not have any such goal or long-term view that we have to go and plunder Sringeri. In fact, when the Peshwa and also the Patwardhans, who heard about the plunder of Sringeri and that the Shankaracharya had sat on a fast, they actually sent a lot of apology letters to him. They sought his forgiveness. They also gave back whatever was plundered by people who were associated with them in an irregular manner, and it was not part of their state policy. So there's so much of nuance in historical narratives, but then on an election rally in North Karnataka or in Bombay, Karnataka, where the Marathi speakers are in large numbers, to polarize them on all these emotive issues, I think that's what I said earlier. That shows the depths and the nadir of political bankruptcy, intellectual bankruptcy.
Well, we're going to